Young, Cole, Antonio Gibson, Norwell, and Robinson. Name statuses: Sadiq Charles will be out. Cam Curl questionable. St. Juice questionable. Everyone else full go.
Including Chase? What do you think for Chase?
Good. A lot of positive things, and it's now. I mean, he felt really good this week. I think again, seeing Dr. Andrews probably was the last final thing that he just to get him over the hump. And he practiced with confidence. He showed us he was willingness to stick that leg in the ground and roll off of it, plant it and cut off of it. So he had a good week. So we're pretty excited about that.
I'm sorry, did you say he was going to play?
Yes.
Okay, I was typing something and he was mumbling, so I didn't know. It wasn't me.
I heard Matthew, and I'm deaf. I'm deaf in my left ear. So.
I'm older now, so.
Okay.
You had one birthday and you're here.
With Cam, what's the concern?
Obviously, just the ankle. Again, defensive backs have got to use those plant and drives off of those feet, and we just got to make sure he can do it. And he'll continue to get his treatments, and we'll see how he is come Saturday morning.
What, because you guys rely so heavily or use that 3 safety and sometimes 4 safety, what would his absence do to that?
Well, for the most part, it's going to be by committee. We've got guys that'll now get opportunities to step in and play, play the position. We'll rely on Percy and we'll rely on Jeremy. A couple of guys that have really stepped up when they've gotten opportunities and have performed nicely for us. So we're feeling pretty comfortable with whatever we have to do.
Just curious, with Chase playing, I presume would not be playing on special teams, which normally a guy in his spot. Right. How does that affect that unit if you have a guy?
It won't, because who we're going to replace him, who he's going to replace is not a guy that impacts the special teams.
And you know what? I don't have another question. Can I move
on? The video from last night, yes. I mean, it clearly struck a chord with so many people, not just here, across the country. Just when you had that interaction with the guys, especially Jeremy, knowing what he's been through, what was that like, and what do you make of the reaction that it's gotten from people?
Well, what we tried to do and what we wanted to do is, we wanted to let each guy know. I would have loved to have been able to tell the whole team all at once, and that was my first thought, but I was told I couldn't just because there was a TV show at 8 o'clock that had to tell everybody. So that kind of put a little damper on that. So then we set it up so that the last guy coming in would be Jeremy. And it was really kind of cool. So I kind of expected the reaction that we got from Tress, and Terry's reaction was pure Terry. And I couldn't tell Jonathan because what happened was, I don't know if you noticed, but Jeremy came walking in when Jonathan did, so I had to separate the two of them. So I didn't want to tell Jonathan because I didn't want Jeremy to overhear. But I figured it would be a very poignant moment for Jeremy just because, 2020 and basically the story being is he had a great training camp. We let him go, but we told him we would bring him back, put him on practice squad. And I told him, I gave my word that when the opportunity came, I would activate him. And some people thought I was going to activate somebody else, but I stuck to it and gave him his chance. And he's done nothing but, be there for us and make plays happen for us. And then, unfortunately, last year during Thanksgiving, he loses his mother. So it was one of those things that I just knew that it would mean a lot to him. Because he's done the things that you're supposed to do. He does the things that guys that are not drafted should do. And, and that's if and I said this when I first got here, if you want to make an impression on me, do it on special teams for you young guys. And he's done that, and he's done more than that. So it's a well-done, well-deserved opportunity.
It seems like Jeremy's the guy that a lot of the players kind of gravitate around. I mean, even Tress seemed like he was almost as excited about Jeremy getting in as he was. Why do you think he's one of those guys that the players gravitate around?
Because they know his story. And he comes to work the same way every day. You know what I'm saying? He comes to work, he understands what his role is, and he does his role to the best. You just know that you're going to get the kind of picture on, from Jeremy when he's on scout team, that the vets will get the starters will get something out of. And that's one of the things you try to tell your guys that, hey, look, if you're on practice squad, if you're on show team, it's your job to give a great show. give a great look, because on Sunday we don't want anything to be a surprise. And so Jeremy's one of those guys, and because he does those things, he practices that type of tempo that you should. I think his teammates really do appreciate that, and I think that's part of it. Plus, I think, in a lot of situations, circumstances in the locker room or away from the facility, Jeremy's a go-to guy. Guy needs something, guy needs some help, or, just want to hang out or something. Jeremy's a guy I know a lot of guys do gravitate towards.
In what ways on the field have you seen growth from Jeremy?
Just his overall playing skills and his understanding and knowledge of what we do and how we do it. The way he does things, again, as I said, he does things hard, fast, and even if he does make a mistake, he's making 100 miles an hour. And that's impressive to his guys. I mean, he is the same guy no matter what, and that is important.
And we've all seen from afar just how good of a year Duran's had.
Yes.
Obviously selected as alternate, but not one of those initial guys. Were you kind of surprised to see him left out at first?
Yes, I was. I was, just because of the kind of year he's had. But, the other guys they selected all have had great years as well. And now I think that Duran's name is out there. I think people pay more attention to it. And so that'll be something that'll carry him, I think, into next year if he plays the way he is playing right now.
How much just of a lift for Chase personally will it be to finally play this weekend after having to talk to us and just go through the constant maybe not?
It'll be a real big lift, and honestly, that's kind of why we decided now is the time to tell you guys, just so it doesn't become that distraction and that just what if in case. We want you guys to be able to tell everybody, hey, he's ready to roll. Let's go.
And it'll still be 12 to 16 plays for him initially?
Yeah, we're going to have him on a pitch count initially, and who knows? I mean, but again, it's going to be a few here, a few here, a few here, and just kind of take him through the actions and see how he handles it. But we're going out there with an initial pitch count.
And then with Jeremy, kind of following up on Ethan's question, what makes him a Pro Bowl level punt protector?
Oh, the way he plays. Yeah. And it's not just punt protector, but the way he covers. I mean, somebody showed me a post that had one of our kickoff coverages where he forms up the guy, and it was Philadelphia. The second time we played him, he formed up the return man perfectly and dropped him. I think it was about the 18-yard line. And it's one of those things where, that's the kind of energy we need. That's the kind of way you've got to play. And also when you watch the way he handles the punt protection spot, I mean, being the PP for the punter is a big deal. And when you make the calls and you've got to scan and you've got to pick up the guy that somebody misses, or you've got to now get downfield and cover through that whole process, that really speaks well to what he does and how well he does it.
Got a general kind of league question. With how aggressive teams were in the offseason with quarterbacks, this idea of give them time, you kind of look, it's the end of the season now, not any of those situations that maybe click like maybe Tom Brady in Tampa a few years ago. Does that cause you to rethink the way you go about the quarterback position, or what do you kind of make of the idea that teams are all aggressive and they maybe didn't work out the way that they thought?
And I think that's part of what everybody looks at is there still a little bit of time that has to be taken? I mean, we just got to figure out where you want to go, how you want to do things. I think what we showed you guys in the preseason, I've mentioned this before, that's what we want to do. I mean, we ran the ball purposely in the preseason, but we didn't account for the situation we got in, just before the season started with B-Rob. And so that kind of slowed us down a little bit. And then once he got back, and as he got back into shape, we began to see, what we were intending to do. And again, we want to continue working at that. We want to, shore up the positions that we feel we're going to need to shore up. And quarterback obviously is one that we're going to, continue to look at, with the guys we have here and what potentially could be out there. But we have to look at every position and do our due diligence.
Going back to Jeremy, one of the things that has been a knock on him is his size. Mm-hmm. He can't get any taller or anything like that. So how did he, over the years, compensate for that to put him in this spot?
I think the biggest thing is just the way he's learned the game. There's a way to play the game that makes you, that makes it look as if you play faster than you do. There's a way to play the game with the right types of angles. There's also a way to game to take on blockers that if you do it properly, size really doesn't impact it as much as it would if you didn't take it on properly. So, playing the game the right way, I think, is a good way to describe what he's done to help himself, kind of advance.
And then looking at Saturday, just for the Niners defense, How hard is it to? Why is it so hard? Why has it been so hard for teams to run on that?
Because, well, I think part of it is if you look at the games where people did run the ball effectively against them, which we have, they've been able to get ahead with the chains. Also, they've made the commitment that that's what they're going to do and that's how they're going to do it. They've stayed with it. They've stayed with it. They've stayed with it. And that's a big part of the reason why you continue to want to run the ball, because a couple things happen. If you are successful and you can stay ahead of the chains and you can convert and get into more third and shorts, that gives you an opportunity to keep their offense off the field. I mean, Kyle's done such a good job there. I mean, they're explosive, and they know they are. And if you can limit those opportunities, that helps you as a football team.
Ron, I came up with another question. There are talented players, and there are some guys who are more leaders. Yeah. The fact that 3 of your Pro Bowl guys are team captains and pretty clearly leaders, especially the offense, defense, and special teams with Tress, what does that kind of say, I guess, about, or is there a little extra to that it's those guys in particular who are helping set the tone and getting in?
I think there's a little extra to it, because I think the guys that got in are the guys that really have gotten a lot of marquee attention. Tress has had a phenomenal year with kicks inside the 10-yard line, kicks inside the 5-yard lines, helping to flip the field for us. He is also a very unselfish guy, because, when you could easily just boom the ball and get it into the end zone and get your gross average up around 55, 60, that's one thing. But a guy that's willing to Aussie kick and accept the fact that, he may only get a 35-yard Aussie kick that's going to crush his average, he doesn't worry about that. What he talks more about is field position, which is something we talk about as far as special teams, is the hidden yardage and how important that is. With Terry, having done what we did, and I told you guys, signing Terry was an organizational signing, because he impacts not just our football team, but what our football team means to this community off the field as well, and business as well as that's concerned. And then Jonathan, having had the year he had last year, carrying it on with the year like he's had this year, that's one of those things that you kind of felt he was going to make it. And don't discount, Jeremy's leadership qualities, because, as far as team captain voting goes, he was right behind Tress, and if we had decided with 2 special teams, he would have been the other one. So his leadership out there is pretty big too, Ben. So, having those 4 guys, represent us, and then quite honestly, seeing the guys that are, with what both Duran and Montez, getting considerations as first and second alternate, I think they're starting to get people's attention, and we're starting to get out there, and people are seeing us as more relevant now.
And with Terry and Jonathan in particular, as you said, 2 guys that you just gave big extensions to, those don't always work out. Obviously, it has to this point. So what does that I guess say a little bit extra about what you guys from a front office perspective are, choosing who to keep and
and the big thing is you can sit there and feel good to just say we were right. I mean, that's kind of who we envision, and quite honestly, we feel that way for our guys, for pretty much anybody that we're going to try and get back here and have them be part of what we're trying to do.
Take 2 more. Is that going good?
Did you say Chase was playing? Yes. Yes, I did. Yes, I did. Cool. Thank you, guys.
You guys can head over to the locker room. We got Tress and Jeremy with you.
You had Tress a little bit concerned at first.
No, I did.